4, 3.
A very good morning, everyone, and a warm welcome on the 15th of January. A very warm welcome to the winter webinar series from SRC Business Support Team 2020-2021. And this morning's session is going to be delivered by my colleague, Jimmy Moore. My name is Kieran Swale. I'm a tourism specialist, and we're supported today by the full business, nearly with a good turnout of the business support team today, with Brian, Aisling and Sarah in the background. So you're very, very welcome. Jimmy's going to talk to us today about developing inventory management and scheduling systems. So we've been chatting to Jimmy during the week, and this is something that's going to be very, very useful for anyone in their business, and applies to all sizes of business. I was chatting to Jimmy about my background in terms of hospitality, but this is going to be relevant to everyone. So hold on tight and get a pens and papers ready, and you can jot down some notes. Just a few things in terms of today. If you have any questions, would you please post them in the chat box. I'm not going to be with you for the full session today. My colleague Brian McGee is going to step in and do a summary. This presentation will be sent out to you. Sarah and Ashley will be posting that out to you along with an evaluation. And a reminder as well, this is actually today's number 5 in our series of 8 of the winter webinar series. So just next week, my colleague James will be talking to you about manufacturing and design for manufacturing. And then the Friday after, Darren McSherry is coming back to do marketing versus commercial marketing. Then in February, we have my colleague Darren Hawley's going to be talking about using Photoshop and the benefits of that. And then at the end of February, my colleague Cahill McDonald and myself are looking at AR and VR, revisiting that. We did one of those last year. So we're halfway through the series, still lots of practical tips coming up. But enough of that, on to today then. I'm now going to hand over to my colleague Jimmy Moore, and I hope you enjoyed today's webinar. Thank you. Okay, Jimmy.
Thank you. Morning, everyone. The subject matter this morning is just about how we can develop inventory management schedule systems, and specifically we're using standard software that you can get off the shelf nowadays. So something about myself, I've been working in business for over 20 years. It's mostly in supply chain, in manufacturing, some customer service jobs as well. I work mostly in operations excellence and how to help people do their change management and process improvement. And I've worked in multinationals, SMEs, micro businesses, so I've worked along the whole remit of businesses. So what we're going to do today, we're going to talk about inventory management and scheduling, and I'm just going to break it down. What are the components? What are those things about? What's involved in them? To show that how they're done in best practice in ERP systems can also be replicated in standard software that you can get off the shelf with. And I'm going to refer to Excel, which is the one everybody uses nowadays. So first of all, outcomes, what I'd like you to be able to get out of this is basically some clarity on what these systems can do, and basically to understand that standard software can be used to do them, and give you some comfort that you could approach and do that yourself. And so that'll give you the ability to decide whether or not this is for you. And from our point of view, that's hopefully that you'll come along to us and contact us and say, well, okay, give us a bit of help here and show us how to do this. So that's the whole point of today. Inventory management, first of all. So inventory management basically comes down to this graph. It's all about the inventory cycle, and the whole principle behind it is to make sure that you've got enough stock, that you're not losing sales, and inventory management systems then are about systemizing the process of doing that. It's something that used to be done by people, and some businesses are still done by people, but it's to try and systemize it so human error isn't a part of the function anymore. And if you look at the main parts of it, it's about saying, okay, how much do you have? How much are you using? How long does it take to get more in? So at what point do I need to order more? And there's some systems that are very complicated, an awful lot more than that, but it really boils down to those 4 things. The other element of it is about cost. Cost is important to every business. So it's about making sure that you are ordering the right amount that is going to optimize the amount of cost you're spending. It's not necessarily minimize the cost, but optimize it. So you're getting the right amount to make sure that you've got enough to make the stuff or provide the services to your customers, but at the same time, you're not basically going to kill yourself with your costs. And the cost of inventory are that there's things like how much it costs to hold them, that's storage and warehouse space and moving the stuff about. The transaction cost of actually doing it, that's hiring a purchasing team and the many transactions they have to do. There's the hidden cost of how much you're scrapping, how much you're throwing away. If you buy stuff, then it might be the case if you buy too much, you're not going to use it all, so you're going to have to throw it away. And the other thing is, for small businesses, it takes up cash. So that's cash that you need, lifeblood of your business. I've got to be deciding, do you want to do that or not? So Ian, the 4 elements that we want to look at. And what I want to look at is, well, how does that break down into a system? And it breaks down into 4 main areas. First of all, any inventory management system will have its master data. So that's your products and the elements that are about them, that's lead times, batch sizes, bills of materials, all those types of things. Your customers and the minimum order quantity that they have, and the suppliers that you're going to use to buy the stuff, and how long it takes them to deliver to you. There's a demand, that's obviously your sales orders, but also an inventory management system might well be decided to hold small quantities, buffer quantities. And also there's some systems, and Excel can do this as well, where you take in the sales history and say, okay, this is my rate of sales at a specific time of year. Do I want to take into consideration in demand? Then you've got your supply, which naturally is stock, but you've also got your purchase orders and your what's due in from your suppliers, what's due in from the factory in the form of works orders, and also the hidden stuff that you scrap so much, you've got so much wastage, so build that into your plan as well of supply. And finally, it's the thing that does the work really of what people used to do or still do is the logic. So it's a case of working everything out between your master data, your demand, your supply, to say, do I need to order this or do I not? And if I have ordered it before, maybe things have changed and I need it sooner than I thought, so I expedite it. Also, it might be the case that the system say, right, things have changed, you need to change your parameters. You need to put in a different level of average sales to make sure that you're ordering more in the future. And also the logic part of it can output reports so that management teams and the team in general can take the actions that they need to do. So those are the 4 elements of an inventory management system. And what they'll do is they'll help you maximize your availability and minimize your cost. So what's best practice for systems? Again, these are the 4 elements. And what people tend to do, what they get to a certain size, is they purchase an enterprise resource planning system, an ERP system. And these are some of the ones that I've worked with. Like there's the Big Daddy, it's SAP, but Oracle, Microsoft Dynamics, Sage, they're all used fairly regularly in small business, but there are a lot of ERP systems. And that's what people generally go for, to say, okay, right, I'm a certain size, I'm going to spend the money, I'm going to fix the systems down. And how do ERP systems work? So ERP systems work the same way as they basically get the 4 components that we talked about. They've got master data, supply, logic, demand, and they've got those 4 elements put into their systems. So to start off with, well, what's the demand? You've got your sales files, you've got people entering what the buffer stock should be, and it already knows the sales history because it's got the sales orders on the system already, and it can work out what the future demand is going to be based on past demand. You've got your supply, so it already has the POs on the system, it's already got the works order systems, and it's already got the stock. So an ERP system can work out what is the supply going to be because it's got the data already. It's got the master data, you input all the part numbers, you spend all the time to do that, and it's got all the parameters associated with suppliers and the part numbers themselves, the lead times, the reorder quantities, that type of thing. And what it'll do, it'll push that through your logic system and it'll provide suggestions, and that's basically what it does. So that means it'll say place a PO, or it'll say bring the PO in quicker than I have before. Your more modern systems will also have links to e-commerce system, and they'll also have a web-based or a cloud-based system linked to their suppliers. So you've got live data coming in and real-time data coming in. So it's something that can be used every day, every couple of days as things change. So people decide to use it in different ways, but an ERP system will respond to that. So that's what is considered best practice. Scheduling then. What is scheduling? Scheduling is, this is just a wee graphic, shows a description of what it is, but the purpose of it is to provide a visual timetable of events. It's, if any of you has ever done project management, it's a visualization of your tasks in a way that lets you know how long they're going to take and when they're going to finish, so you can maximize your own time delivery. If you need to change things about or add extra resource, a scheduling system will show you where and how much you have to add. and it facilitates the plan of resources and supports in line with customer demand. So the main three parts of this graphic are it's about a timetable of production or project management or whatever services you're providing, and it gives you the start and end time, and it basically brings an element of showing the importance of time in your processes to make sure that you're hitting your time, your targets for time, so your customers are getting what they want when they wanted it. That's just what it
is. Jimmy, would you mind going back to that slide and ask you? It's quite a simple question, but
yeah.
So you have your ERP system and you get to a certain size in your company, I understand that, and maybe up to that point you've been doing it either manually or some way semi-electronically, and you decide, you know what, let's invest in a system. So your scheduling system, I know you're probably going to come on to this, at what stage would you be, would you already have a scheduling system in place before you have your ERP system? Or, I'm imagining the scheduling system could happen anything from ad hoc to very, very planned on a scale. So, do they run parallel together, or would one?
They normally do. It depends on the type of business, Kieran, really. But if you think of, when I say inventory management system, the manually used to happen with purchase order books and people visually going and taking a look at what they had. A scheduling system, the old manual system was a job card. So if there was a project management team, for example, there'd be a lot of job cards there. Somebody would have the master ones and they would have them sitting in order, and they'd know, have we done the jobs or have we not? What a scheduling system does is it brings it in electronically and works out, well, when is one going to start, when it's going to finish, and what resources are attached to it. So that you don't get caught out with saying, okay, right, I'm going to get all these done, I've plenty of time to be able to do them, but actually you really don't. And it's a way of working all that out to make sure you get the things done on time. But it is an electronic reflection of that old job card system where people used to put it up on the wall and you'd know visually, you had all these jobs to do. Somebody finished a job, they go and pick up another one. That's really what it is.
You wouldn't have one without the other.
You could. A lot of people do other inventory management systems because that's cash. That's very real to them. And scheduling, they just manage by just going and looking at, have they got the job done or not. A really good experienced manager, who's done this job all his life, can schedule in his head. There's no doubt about it. But it's once you get to a certain size and that really good manager, you want them off doing something else or developing products or selling or whatever it is, then you can bring in a scheduling system and get it to do it for you.
Okay, lovely, thanks.
So the same thing is you're taking data out of people's head or experience out of people's head, putting it into a system and using the system to do it. Okay. So again, a scheduling system's got components, and this time it's got demand, master data, logic, but instead of supply, you've got availability. So that's the availability of your resources. That's the people and the machines or the tools or whatever that you have in your service system. Master data, it's about the part numbers, the routings, the work centers. Routing is what path it takes to be able to get the job done. Work centers are how a factory is broken up into different types of machines. Demand is simply sales orders and the work orders that you have to be able to do to complete the work orders. Availability, as I said, it's the work centers, it's the machines or the tools, whatever that you have, and it's the employees that you have to be able to do the job. And again, it'll pass it through a system of logic, and it'll come up with a production schedule or a process schedule or a work schedule, whatever it is, the type of business that you have. And again, in SAP, this is what a schedule looks like, and the main components are that you've got the resource and you've got a job, which is the small one down here, and then it's all done on time. So they'll basically look at the resource, say which one you're going to allocate it to, bank the jobs up on top of each other, and then this system will highlight you're going to be on time or you're not going to be on time. You need to do something else. So that's the purpose of scheduling system. So ERP systems, we're saying most companies will agree that's the best practice. Why doesn't everybody just do it? So first of all, there's the amount of users, there's the scalability. SAP and Oracle normally means that you get 50 plus people are going to be using the system within the organization. So for most SMEs in Northern Ireland, that's not really yourself. Most people are in around 50, under 50 people. Sage and Microsoft Dynamics, possibly, yeah, you could look at them. But then there's the element of cost. So SAP and Oracle, again, you're talking about six-figure sum to get it bought and implemented. And for Sage, in around 50, Microsoft Dynamics, you're talking about 25 to 30,000 £30,000 to get it put in. So for most small businesses, that's money they don't have, and if they did have it, they'd probably spend it on another salesman or product development or whatever it is to get more business. So what about using standard software then? Again, if we look at what the best practice can be, we're saying, can you replicate what ERP systems do with standard software? And the way I think of it is that there's 4 elements that these ERP systems have. Basically, it's broken down into tables. It's data collation between those tables. It's the logic or the calculations that are needed to work out what's required. And then there's a form of output. And the tables is the data that you have in there. It's the forms that are inputted. It's the data that's saved from those. The collation is basically linking to those. Calculation is then just the logic. And the output is then the suggestions for orders, the production schedule, and the reports that you need to be able to do your job. So tables, again, this is just a graphic of a table within SAP. Basically, it's where data is held, and it's a sheet that's split into rows and columns. And in ERP systems, each column has a header, and each row is unique. And that's how they manage the data in their systems. They're able to manage it once you have those qualities. So again, ask the question, can standard software do that? Well, most definitely, because spreadsheets are basically, they're tables. They're already split into rows and columns, and there's a function within Excel, for example, that you can create something as a table, and it will make sure that every row is unique. So yes, that can be done. Data collation then is in an ERP system. It takes all the tables that are designed in advance, and it hard codes the links between them, so that data can flow between these tables into queries to create new tables and give the information that you require. But it's all hard coded, it's all done at the start. Can that be done in Excel? Yes, it can. Excel's got a function called Power Query, where you can take information from tables or spreadsheets from all different sources, from your own PC, from a server, from the cloud, and it'll bring them all together into one sheet. And then you can use append, which is putting tables together, and use VLOOKUP and pivots to be able to pull the data together and say, okay, this is the one query, or this is the one piece of data that I want to pull together to be able to do my job. Calculations then, ERP systems, they're all hard coded. Most of them are standard when you buy the system, but you can get the guys at the start to code more calculations in if that's what your business requires, but it costs a bit more money. But the main point is it's hard coded, you can't really change it. In Excel, yes, well, Excel, it's not only just a sheet, it's also a big calculator. So you can do all the calculations you want. And within the functionality of Power Query, you can now do a lot of these calculations automatically when you're at the collation stage. So you can learn to do a bit of coding, or learn how to do the coding, and you can basically put those calculations in as you're pulling the data in. So it can do the same job, basically, is what I'm saying. And then the outputs. ERP systems were definitely far, far better than any other standard software that you had in the recent past. So the reports that they had and the user interface they had was always far superior to what you had from Excel sheets, just from the look and the feel, and to be able to pull the data you required, and clearly you are quickly zoning in on the salient points. So I think Microsoft have probably noticed that, and they brought out a system in the last 3 or 4 years, Power BI, which is business analytics, and it basically can do the same thing as the ERP systems can do. And it's very, really powerful. So you can pull all the data you want from your Excel sheets into one system and create the reports that you want. So yes, they can do that too. So again, from can one do the other? It's just, yes, tables, data collation, calculations, output. They've all in the ERP systems. Can Excel do that? No, it can, yes. So it can be replicated. Just a quick case study to show you something I've done before to show that it can actually be done. That I worked with an engineering company, an SME, small company, growing, around 20 people work from it. But the situation where they bought Sage 50, was doing their accounts, and they put their sales orders on it as well. The paper purchase order management system where a guy went out and basically said, do we need to order more stuff or not? And there's no schedule on the production floor. Basically, they had a board up where they said these are the jobs that need to be done, and they were ticked off and they were finished. So the challenge for the project was to say, take a look, can we improve our inventory holding to make sure that the stockouts and therefore late orders weren't a problem. Also increase the on-time delivery to customers, and so they could know in advance, are we going to hit our delivery time or are we not through our schedule. And also the manager wanted something so he could see what was going on in the company and these key areas. So we wanted some sort of management system. The outputs are the solution that I had. So for inventory management, like I've been describing, I introduced an Excel-based inventory management system, and this is basically the structure of it. I pulled the orders in from Sage 50, and I set up tables with the suppliers, materials, and purchase orders. Brought that in through a logic spreadsheet, materials requirements plan, and it basically said I need these POs or I need to expedite these POs to have the stuff in on time. And there was a weekly report, or they could do it daily if they wanted to. From an on-time delivery point of view, it's basically they weren't scheduled in their factory, so I introduced an Excel-based scheduling system. Again, orders were pulled in through the Sage 50 system with an automatic link, and I created tables which has got all the quality or the criteria of the products and the work centers and the employees, the workforce that they had when they're going to be in overtime and all the rest of it. And this provided a visual schedule of what was going to happen and also a capacity plan, so they could see where their capacity was broken. And finally, the manager wanted to see some reports, so I basically introduced some very simple Power BI, and it was about pulling the data that was already in the other systems that I had, so you could see clearly which orders up front, this is by week, were on time, and which ones were going to be late. What the workforce availability was, how many orders, the number of products you have per week to see if you have enough sales, and then also the number of stockouts. So then behind each one of these, he could dig into it and find out, well, what was the detail behind that and start taking actions to improve it. So quite successful project. So I've put together a picture that says, okay, ERP system is really good. They can do exactly what you want. Excel can do what ERP systems can do, which isn't completely true. So, and just to go through, what are the pros and cons between them? So first of all, as I've already said, ERP systems are, they're too expensive for your average SME unless they're doing really well and they're growing very quickly. Whereas Excel is very cheap. You can get an Office 365 license per person for around £10 per month at the minute, so it's very cheap. Ease of use then. In other words, can you take it out of the box and get people trained and using it? So ERP systems are not the most difficult things. They're fairly logical in how they're put up, but you do have to be trained in how to do it, and consultants will charge you a lot of money for months of training to make sure they're doing it right, and there's only ever one way to do it. Whereas Excel, you can get standard training, the college can provide training in Excel, we can come out and do specialist type training for you, so it's readily available, and for most companies, SMEs and micro businesses, you can get it for free. Scalability, ERP systems are definitely stronger here. You can basically make them whatever size you want, and if you ever get to the stage where you're earning hundreds of millions, you probably have to buy another server, but you can't just stick another server on and increase the size of it. Whereas Excel, it's pretty big now. It's a big system. You can put a lot of data on it, but as we've seen recently with the track and trace thing, it can fall off a cliff if you've got lots of data. So you need to be aware of that. There's things you can do to improve on it if that happens, but again, scalability is one thing you need to be aware of. If you grow quickly, you need to look at your Excel system if you put it in. And finally, security. Security is the one area where ERP systems are far, far better. They're hard coded. There's only one way of doing things, so people can only do things one way. So you've got a level of security on your data, whereas Excel, you can put controls in place, but they are fairly rudimentary. And if there's somebody who knew what they're doing, they could change things pretty easily, so they could. So there's an element of trust when you use Excel. So you're basically balancing, do I want to basically get the benefit of the cost and basically say, okay, right, the risk of security isn't really that big to me, or I've got checks and balances, but you need to know that they're there. So next steps are fairly simple. Take a look at this, have a think about it, see, will these tools add value to you and your business? The other thing is you need to identify, is there somebody within your business who could be upskilled to develop these tools and help to manage them on a day-to-day basis? Because there is a bit of work on it, and you do need somebody who's got the potential to be skilled like that. And if you want to do this, you probably need to think about getting somebody in to do it. Either way, whether you're going to go for an ERP system or do the standard stuff with ourselves. And if you do think it's feasible and you do want to go down the route of using standard software, get in touch with the college. And we certainly put a project together and try to help. And that's really all I have. So the other slides I have on here are just to go through the support available to business. So I think
Julie, just before you go there, can I ask a few questions?
Sure, work away.
Going to be a few questions to you. I think that was great, and it showed very, very nicely the way that it's actually a relatively simple modular system that you can put together in Excel, and clearly you've done that, and that's really good. Do you have like a standard package that you can pull out in Excel, or is it a custom development each time?
I would say it's probably about 50% standard, Brian, and 50% customization, depending on the inventory management one was more standard. So you've always got part numbers, you've always got locations to put them, but there's the changes you have to make. To get the data in and to keep it safe in the right place, you do have to do a wee bit of coding as well. But it is fairly standard. Yes, there's the standard package that I use and I adapt it is really what I do. For the scheduling, it depends on the type of scheduling that they do. That one I showed is fairly standard. Again, there's wee bits of coding that you need to change, and the types of the tables you put in you have to change, but it's not an awful lot of work. Whereas if somebody's got a more complex type of scheduling, some people do, then you would have to do a bit more coding.
So I have a couple of other points about it. I haven't seen anything coming in, so I've got a couple of questions that I want. Do you leave any documentation when you do this, or are people expected to know it themselves, or are they expected to train up?
Part of the project is to upskill the people on how to do this, and I will always provide them with a detailed work instruction of how it's done. But you have to leave somebody behind who knows the program inside of it. So you can't really give an instruction only about how to write a macro, about how to write the queries in the P language of Power Query. You have to show them how to do it, and you have to have a certain level of skill to be able to do it. But certainly for how to run the system, there'll be a set of instructions how to do it afterwards.
The other question I had was, or two more questions. Is this available across all the platforms? For example, on mobile, on your phone, on the Mac, for example?
Mac, I don't know, I'm afraid. For the Excel and Power BI, it is available in mobile format, so you can get all the reports now onto mobile. Everything that's on Power BI, on the web system or on the desktop system, you can put onto a phone or onto a tablet now. So that's available. So like the likes of your schedule and things like that, you could pull through Power BI and provide it that way. So yes, this is available that way. Google, I haven't really used. Google Sheets, it's a bit more rudimentary. So I don't think they've got the web-based systems going the way that Microsoft have at the moment. And as I said, Apple, I haven't really used brand, so I couldn't really say that. So.
And the last question that I was thinking about this as we were going through is, in the past and even today, whenever we're using Excel spreadsheets, it tends to be one person at a time. And are these things going to be relegated to an individual to use them as they go along, or can more than one person be using it at the same time?
It's again, Office 365 has put a lot of development into that, and I think that's in Excel nowadays can be shared. So you can make it a shared file, and you just need to basically sign up to OneDrive, save it on OneDrive, and share it with other people, and they can basically input the data, access the data. So again, that's one of the things that's probably ERP systems are better at, in that if somebody else is trying to go into a form, it won't let you in. Whereas in Excel, it's open and it's free. So if you go in and change one thing, and then somebody comes in and changes the next minute, you won't know that it's changed. So, but yes, to answer your question, you've got access. As many people as you want can access a form at the same time.
Thanks very much.
Okay.
So, do we want to move on and do the next little bit, and then I'll wrap it up?
Sure.
Hello. I just wanted to jump in and quickly say that about the support that the college has available. So there's the Skills Focus program, which is to offer mandatory training for small businesses, non-mandatory training for small businesses. There's the Innovate Us, which is for mentoring program. There's an innovation vouchers through Invest NI, one which is being opened on, the new call is on Monday, Monday coming. There are the Fusion program and knowledge transfer programs, which are for graduates, partly funded graduates to come in and run a project. There are lots of ways. We also have the skills intervention, which is to help individuals who've been affected by COVID in the workplace. And so there are lots of options available. Please get in contact with us at the business support and to see what we can do to help your specific needs. And finally, this afternoon we'll be sending out the evaluations. It's a short survey. We'll be using the responses to try and plan our next set of webinars and workshops. So let us know if you have any suggestions that you'd want, and please complete the short survey and let us know so we can plan for that. I just pass back to Brian then.
Thanks very much, Sarah. Thanks very much, Sarah. And I'd just like to wrap this up. I think the session was very good. That's very interesting stuff, especially even for some of the clients and work that I'm doing at the minute. So I might be in touch. And I think that it's one of those things we get asked quite a lot is about inventory management, and especially from small businesses, mostly coming to it already either having Excel or nothing. And it is surprising how many people have nothing. And I think that I like the way that you broke it down nicely into just it's a modular thing which can be represented in Excel or other products, and also that is largely free. I just want to wrap it up and say thanks very much to Sarah and Aisling and for helping to put this together, Kieran for the introduction, and Jimmy, of course, for the presentation. Just to say that, as Sarah said, we'll be sending out the recording, our details of a link to a recording later today with an evaluation. There's another one of these next week from my colleague James on manufacturing and design. I can't remember the exact title, I'm afraid. And we have several more coming along the line, so just keep tuned to our website and to our social media. And thank you very much for your attendance.